Hi everyone, welcome back to Collective Creative Initiative. For those of you who haven't seen me yet, I'm Rosie. I am one half of Pearson Casting and also now one of the co-directors of Collective Creative Initiative. But we're not here to talk about me or Collective Creative Initiative this afternoon. I'm going to be welcoming two of the most inspirational people in our industry at the moment to do a Q&A. So I'm going to be asking them a bunch of questions about them, their background, how Industry Minds started, and let them talk all about this incredible platform which is out there for you guys to access and use. And so if you haven't been on a stream with us before, you can ask questions. You need to be subscribed to our YouTube channel in order to interact with us, but feel free to ask questions at any time. I'll pop them up on the screen and then we will go from there. So I'm going to bring them in now. So please welcome Cathy and Scarlett from Industry Minds. Hi guys.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, you know, got my light ring on for the back.
It looks great. I need to get one of them.
It's saving me at the moment from lots of from lots of
It's sold out everywhere.
Are they? We got asked a while ago. I can't remember where it's from now, but it wasn't very expensive. But I was saying to Cathy that like our living room is really, really dark, so it's nice to have that brightness, just like.
I'm gonna hit up Amazon and get one.
I'm not literally promoting them here, but they are very cool. So how are you guys doing? How's everything been? Scarlett, you're working at the Nightingale at the moment, is that right?
Not anymore. It's temporarily closed.
Right.
So there's talks about it having to be brought back up. So I'm kind of sitting waiting for confirmation about that. So apart from that, I'm working in my local Sainsbury's, which is lovely because there's loads of other actors and creatives there. So it's good just to see a familiar face. And that's me really. That's kind of what I'm doing.
So where are you locked down at the moment then, Scarlett? Are you in London?
I'm in London, yeah. My partner, he works for the NHS as well, so it wasn't really safe for me to go back home, but missing all my family very much. But it's a good community here as well, so I feel supported.
You're seeing other creatives and people like through your job every day, even though it's not within the industry.
It's lovely because everyone sings, like they're smashing out music and singing at like 2 a.m. So it just makes it makes everyone's spirits a little bit higher during extremely difficult times. So it's
Are you on night shifts at the moment? Are you working nights?
Yeah, I'm working nights. So I'm doing a 2 a.m. till 8 a.m. and then I pick up kind of some overtime during the days as well. But I've got a little puppy, and me and my partner got a puppy, and before lockdown even happened. So I'm racing home to see him, so he's not spending time by himself. So we're kind of doing tag team, me and my partner. So yeah, it's a blessing having a little animal to squeeze as well. So it's but the night shifts are difficult, but
I can imagine.
I'm getting there.
Thank you. And what about you, Cathy? What are you up to at the moment?
Well, I don't know how Scarlett does it, if I'm being honest. Like, that girl works so much. It's amazing. I'm furloughed from my job. So I have been using this time to, we've done quite a lot of Industry Minds work together, which has obviously been great. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. I've been using this time I've taken quite a bit of time for me, actually. I was, just to be completely frank about it, I was struggling with my mental health at the start of it. And I found that I really like having a routine, and I really like working. And I have tried to get a job around here to just give me back a little bit of routine, but there's nothing really going at the moment. So yeah, I've been using the time to do some work. I've been being a bit more creative. I've been playing the piano since I was 6, and sometimes you just can let it slide. And so I've really started doing that again. Spending some time with my boyfriend when he's here. He is an intensive care nurse, so he's obviously here, there, and everywhere all the time. So yeah, just trying to like take some time for me. But I mean, the days are all just merging into one. I don't even know how many weeks it's been since I was last at work.
No, I literally am looking at the calendar and then I have to count backwards on the weeks. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago I said, I think it's a bank holiday tomorrow. And we were like, well,
Every day's a bank holiday.
Another day, you know, it's it's a strange kind of new normal, isn't it? Just kind of each day, and especially doing night shifts, I imagine that kind of gets even more kind of confusing on your body clock.
Yeah, it's just what Cathy said there about the routine, you know, I as well, like, and recently I'm struggling with my mental health, but I really have found having a routine, and you know, when I first started with the night shifts, I was coming home and sleeping all day, and then getting up again, and then having my dinner, spending very little time with my partner, and then having to go to work again. And I could feel myself getting into my kind of downward spiral that I can often fall into. But, you know, I listened to our counsellor, Industry Minds, and she was, you know, listing the importance of a structure, and it really, like Cathy, it's really kind of lifted my spirits. And, you know, coming home and saying, okay, I'll have 2 hour nap, and then I'll get up, I'll do my day, and then I'll go to bed earlier, and then I'm still sleeping, I'm still, you know, staying healthy, I'm still eating, and yeah, it's been really important for me as well to have that structure, and so that the night shifts don't kind of take over my life.
Imagine, I think a lot of people feel the same way. Well, before we go on, I just want to talk a little bit about Industry Minds for anyone, I don't know how they wouldn't have heard of you, but who may not have done. So correct me if any of this is wrong, but Industry Minds was born in 2018 by Cathy and Scarlett, both of you. The concept was formed with a goal to better mental health support in the creative arts. It is now an award-winning and critically acclaimed mental health support platform for creative arts. You have an annual award ceremony, and since 2018 have been offering free and low-cost counselling sessions both in London and Scotland, obviously, which is now all online, and around-the-clock telephone Skype service. It's just an incredible thing you guys have done to really raise awareness of Industry Minds, to raise awareness of mental health in the industry, to bring to the forefront that there are lots of people, actors and creatives, who are struggling on a daily basis, and, you know, to really kind of take that stigma away. So it started with a podcast. So tell us a little bit about how this started.
So I struggled when I graduated back in 2016, and I was working in a pub at the time. I wasn't getting into any audition rooms, wasn't getting into any doors, and I struggled with my mental health, and I didn't really realize at the time that I was struggling with mental health, and I would try to chat to friends about it and see if maybe they were going through the same thing, and it kind of felt like there was you know, a kind of barrier up against people sharing their feelings. And so I initially turned to a podcast because at the time I didn't feel like the right thing for me was to go to a therapist and talk. And I just wanted to kind of learn. So I turned to a podcast that discusses and explores mental health. And then I just kind of thought, God, it would be amazing if there was something like this, but out there for people like me who are in this position, because all the people that were being interviewed were, you know, very, very well known, famous, you know, creatives, you know, sat on a bundle of wealth, and, you know, I'm sat there in my little flat share with £5 in the bank. So I connected with Cathy actually because, as I said, I worked at a pub that wasn't good for my mental health, and Cathy helped me get a new job in a fitness studio, and I just kind of said to her, I've had this idea, what do you think? And Cathy's struggled with mental health too, so she was fully behind it and was like, we need to do this, we need to, you know, create this podcast platform, and so we done it. And, you know, it was a struggle at the time, wasn't it, Cathy? Because, you know, I was struggling, you were struggling, and, you know, putting something out there that kind of wasn't really talked a lot about at the time was definitely scary, but that's kind of how we formed it, and we interviewed a lot of our friends to start off with, and that's how the podcast kind of was born. And then we developed it shortly after into the counselling service and our seminars, and yeah, that's the story.
I've got a little comment here just before I lose it in the thread, but Jennifer says, thank you so much for the podcast. I'm completely obsessed and it's been a real lifesaver for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
What are the challenges around kind of getting this from being a podcast to kind of where it is now? Like, how did that journey happen and what challenges did you kind of come up against?
I think with the podcast, I think we never expected it to grow into anything even close to what it is. And when we started the podcast, as Scarlett says, we interviewed our friends because we didn't know who was going to be okay talking about it. And in terms of kind of like developing it and growing it, it was Christmas 2018 when sadly a young boy took his life on a cruise ship, and Scarlett texted me and she went, we need to do more. We need to do more. There's so much going on, and the podcast is an amazing resource for people who want to listen and want to hear people's stories and stuff. But we should be able to offer help if we need to. So obviously we teamed up with Mary, who got a BEM for her volunteer services for counselling up in Scotland. I mean, she's just incredible. And things have really grown from there. It's just been what people have needed. We've gone, right, can we provide that? Can we acknowledge what people are struggling with and what they need help with at that time? And really, I mean, Mary, I cannot praise her highly enough, just how incredible she has been for the development of Industry Minds and what we've been able to offer. She really is amazing.
We've actually been very lucky to have her come in the next couple of weeks. She's going to do a webinar for us, which I think will be focused around what's currently happening now in the industry and in kind of in the world, probably starting with anxiety, which I think a lot of people are feeling, which I'll come back to a little bit later on in this, but also to do a live Q&A, kind of the structure that we're doing now, and she'll just open it up to people being able to ask questions, and she's been absolutely amazing. So thank you for letting us borrow her for the next few months, but no, she's been absolutely amazing. So you're both actors, for anyone that doesn't know. So will you just talk a little bit about what your backgrounds are as actors as well, just to give that context?
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Scarlett?
Okay, yeah. So I was born and raised in Bonnie, Scotland, so I've been doing dance, since I was the age of 3, doing Highland dancing. It was my passion, and then from there, and I think kind of like many people, I went on to more serious dance training, and then studied a bit in Glasgow, and then I studied at the Dance School of Scotland for 2 years before moving down to London and going to drama school for 3 years at Italia Conti. And then, as I say, I was faced with real struggles when I graduated, which I guess was a positive, because Industry Minds was born. And then, I've dabbled in some theatre work, some TV work, puppetry, everything I can get my hands on. And that's a bit me.
Cathy, what about you? What's your background as a performer?
So I am born and raised in Edinburgh. Although my accent may say otherwise, I've kind of lost it a little bit, which I hate. And I went to I came to the arts really quite late, probably about 14. I've always played the piano. I've always been involved in music and in choirs and stuff. But in terms of actually being involved in musical theatre, that came quite late. My school was incredibly academic and wasn't a fan of musical theatre. They were a fan of plays, but they weren't a fan of musical theatre. And so I joined a little dance school just before I started auditioning for foundation courses and degree courses. And I was about 17 and a half when I joined them. And I was very definitely the token singer. And then I was really, really lucky to get onto, when PPA were doing a 2-year foundation, I got onto that course. And I met some of my really, really great friends there, because quite a few of us got into arts ed off of that. So went to PPA for 2 years, then I went to arts ed for 3 years. I was the grandma of my year, despite being 20 when I started. And then again, like Scarlett, I've definitely had my ups and downs since I've left. I'd say I've worked very sporadically. I got a really lovely job when I first left, and then everything just kind of like dried up for a bit. Had another lovely job, which I'm extremely proud of. And then over the last not over the last year, because I've been doing a different job, but the year before that, I've been in Italy, been to Abu Dhabi, like done some really exciting, really exciting short contracts, which have been great fun. So yeah, I definitely had my ups and downs. But as Scarlett said, if we hadn't had those times out, we would have never met, and this would have never happened. And so that's why I always say to people, just cherish those times out, even though they're difficult, because you never know what's going to come of them. And we could have never dreamed that this would, when we met at that fitness studio when I was training Scarlett how to use the system, we would never have thought that a year and a few months later we would have started this. So yeah.
And I forced Cathy to be my friend. You remember, I literally forced you. I was like, so we finished the training day at, please call it, it's a fitness studio called Barcore. And it's like, so should we go get a coffee? Let's go get a coffee. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. But I didn't think that was you forcing me to be, I really liked you. I wanted you to be my friend.
I need friends.
Yeah.
It was a match made in heaven.
It was, and what's so funny about it is
love story of all time. I tell you that.
I know, and it's just so funny because on the outside, we always say it. Me and Scarlett are like the complete opposite of people. We're like little and large, blonde and brunette, but we make a good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you guys surprised by the industry response to launching Industry Minds? Because obviously you knew from your own experience and by talking with others that there was a need out there, but you must have been overwhelmed with the response that you got for it.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Like I said earlier, when we came up with the concept and we're like, I remember the exact moment where we launched the Twitter page and we were both like, oh, should we really do this? Because it's like anything, you know, it could have backlash. You know, we say all the time, none of us are, you know, medical professionals. We're not professionally trained. Everything is from our own experience. And, you know, in terms of anyone ever giving mental health advice, that should always be from, you know, a professional. And we make it very clear that everything we say is from us, and all we wanted to do was open up a conversation. So, you know, you have kind of things in the back of your mind when you launch anything, oh, what if, especially when you have kind of low self-esteem and are going through mental health yourself. So yeah, it was really, really scary, but I think the response from the industry was just so uplifting. And, you know, I'll say it all the time, we can't really take credit for Industry Minds because Industry Minds is carried by the industry, and it's supported, you know, if it was just me and Cathy having a conversation, you know, no one would listen. People listen because people are willing to come and share their mental health journeys with us. And I feel like Industry Minds is everyone's in the industries that want to be a part of it, and it develops as the industry develops. That's how I know that we view it anyway. But it's inspired us, and, you know, created the fire for us to keep going and do more constantly, which we're forever grateful for. And, you know, it saves lives. And I think that's what it comes down to, the conversation and, you know, therapy and yeah, exactly that, opening up the conversation. It helps people, and we need to continue that conversation always, which I think is why we're so passionate about it.
Yeah. I think that passion is what's really kind of driven people to get involved with you guys, is how open you've been about your own experiences and about wanting to affect real change in the industry, about really wanting to connect with people. And I think everybody at some stage has tackled some kind of mental health issue, whether it's something that's literally impacting their everyday life, or whether they've been through a period of time where, you know, things have been hard and it's been an external force, or whether it's something that they, you know, as I say, they're dealing with kind of on a daily basis. So I think, you know, once one person comes and starts talking about it, then that other people come forward and say, well, actually, I've got something to share as well. And it's created an amazing community. So what you guys done is absolutely amazing, absolutely brilliant. Take the credit for it. Take the credit.
Thank you.
So I want to talk about kind of life outside, kind of pre the lockdown, because this will end at some point and it will come back, and then we'll talk separately about kind of exactly what's happening now. So what steps do you both kind of take on a daily basis? And I fully appreciate what you said about you are not giving mental health advice, but I think obviously, you know, you guys, your experiences are really valuable for other people to learn from. So what steps do you kind of take on a daily basis to kind of look after your mental health outside of what we're currently going through? Like, Cathy, let's start with you.
Sure. For me, something that has been really important for me recently is exercise. And I know it sounds so simple, but I was supposed to run the marathon in April, but it got postponed. Really hoping it doesn't get postponed again. But I think having kind of like a training plan and something to stick to is something that I've found has been really helping me over the past few months, especially when I was before lockdown. I was obviously training in the winter, and there's a few weekends. I think we had about 3 weekends in a row where there was a horrific storm every weekend, and I think those weekends I was out running an 8, 10, and 12 mile run, and I just came home like drenched, but I always felt much better after it. That's something I definitely do, and I think what's been interesting for me is the things that I did before lockdown, I'm doing in lockdown as well. So I think I was a bit naive in thinking that lockdown wouldn't last as long as it has, and that we'd be back at work by now. But I don't think any of us really knew. And I think that having that routine, I set my alarm for the exact same time every day. Like, granted, it's an hour later than when I get up to go to work in town. But I set my alarm at the same time every day. I make sure that I'm eating right, that I'm cooking. That's really important for me. I'm not sure if I've gone off track of your question, but that's kind of what,
not at all, no.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. And also just like, it sounds very trivial, but I just started like a paint by numbers, and I sit and I put on classical music, and it's so intricate, there's so much. And I just sit and I put on some classical music, and I just kind of zone out for a little bit. I've also been really conscious of, and I did this before lockdown as well, I call my grandparents at least once a week, and I speak to my mum every few days and speak to my brother every couple of weeks. And that kind of communication, because I'm so far away from them anyway, I'm not seeing them every week, so I'm not feeling that. Obviously, I'm really missing them, and I would have seen them in this time. But because I used to call them every week and not see them for like 3-4 months, it's not taken too much of a toll of me during this. But yeah, I think what Scarlett said to begin with, that the routine is has been really important for my mental health. And when I haven't had routine, that is when I notice a real dip in my mental health.
Scarlett, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm someone that I get everything out through expressing. You'll probably hear by listening to me just now, I can never just say a plain sentence. I've got a very jumbly brain. And so I'm someone that, has really been affected by, not being able to go out and socialize, and not being able to, do my normal structure of going to this class and going for my singing lesson. And kind of all of that. And I think that's why this is so brilliant. And I can't wait to sign up for some classes, because, it's just amazing. But that's something that I've been really trying to do, is to, book in my singing lesson, have that structure, so I'm expressing that way. I love painting, so it's been a really nice time for me to, reconnect with that, because it's something that I was so passionate about. And I think because I always go at 100 miles an hour, like most people in this industry, I've kind of neglected that for a while. So yeah, I've been really focused on, expressing myself that way, and socializing on Zoom. I voice note Cathy probably every single day, every single minute, chatting to my friends, chatting to my family. I have kind of Zoom nights that I host for my family. I'm lucky to live with my partner, so just really enjoying that quality time with him, and just really expressing how I feel to people. Like, I've suffered some grief recently, and just being very open and honest that this is how I'm feeling. I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. Okay, today I feel like this, and just being really, really open. And that's really helped me. Is the expressing, the talking to friends. I really miss socializing. I'm such a social butterfly, and it's been so difficult. But I think that's why Zoom has been such a blessing to really stay connected.
Yeah.
And as I said, really do that structure has just been really great for me. And this morning I took part in a mental health awareness course, so I'm using the time to educate myself and stuff as well, and just jump on as many things as I can to educate myself, express myself, and just chat. Really, I haven't been exercising I feel I did try at the start, but I'm just a bit lazy now. But I need to do more because it does make me feel good. So I'll be joining in some live dance classes on here probably tomorrow.
Yeah. And plus they're available if you miss them because you're sleeping or working. They're going on the YouTube channel on this one here for a month afterwards, so they're all accessible to watch in your own time. Dance in your own time in the middle of the night. I think what really resonates with me, certainly as somebody who is used to going to the theatre almost every night or being in the audition room, is that lack of connection now with other creatives, with other people, and as you say, Scarlett, just being able, just going in and out of London and just bumping into someone in the street and having that connection, feeling part of that buzz in the industry is what I've really missed more than anything. And having things like Zoom have been an absolute lifesaver, as you say, but it is having that connectivity with other people that I think a lot of people have really struggled with. And I think, this industry, I've said this before, but we do it because we're passionate about it, because it is our lives, not because it's a job that we do we certainly don't do it for the money. So it comes, the whole thing is part and parcel with being connected and being creative. And I think for me, certainly getting involved in things like this and Q&As and podcasts has kind of kept me focused and actually has helped support my own mental health in staying involved and connected with people and having that interaction even though it's online. So it's really interesting to hear what's kind of kept you guys ticking over during this point. And I think as well, people are probably struggling a little bit with the uncertainty, like the deadlines at the end of it are not set at this time. We've got a couple of questions, so I'm just going to pop them on the screen so you can see them up here. So Beth says, and remember guys as well that Scarlett and Cathy are not here necessarily in a counselling capacity, but by all means feel free to ask them any questions and they'll respond in their own. Is that right, guys? Can I say that? Yeah, yes. With your own experiences. So is it difficult to find a work mental health balance in a professional setting? I struggled in college. I'm starting uni in September. I'm worried I won't cope. Cathy, what's your thoughts?
I think I can totally relate to that. I really did struggle in my foundation course and a bit on my degree course. One of the main reasons for that was that I lost my dad in my first year of my foundation course. But what I think the main thing to remember is that mental health is so much more prevalent, and people are looked after so much more, and the resources are there so much more than they were when I started 9 years ago. Oh, cat.
Sorry. I was Mr. Toes for anyone that hasn't. Sorry, Cathy.
It's okay. And to remember to ask for help if you do need it, because it will be there, but also to make sure that you you give yourself a break. I think I was definitely, when I was at college, and I know that my brother found this at uni and he wasn't doing anything to do with the arts, is to just like compartmentalize your day and make sure that you give yourself some time to socialize, to go to events. There's so many nights when I should have gone to the pub and hung out with my friends, but I thought, well, no, I've got that jazz assessment, so I've got to practice for this. And obviously giving your most to your to your course is really important, and working hard is important, but your mental health is equally as important, if not more. And I think that just know that someone will be there to help you. It's something that colleges and unis are really, really trying to push to the forefront now, is that you can ask for help and help will be provided.
Great, thank you for that question, Beth. Nadia says, do you have any advice on dealing with rejection? I'm waiting to hear back from drama school. I'm worried about the effect it would have on me to be rejected, as it feels like the right path for me. Nadia, just before I hand this over to Scarlett or Cathy to answer, there's a lot of kind of uncertainty with some drama schools at the moment about how the next years are going to be structured. So I don't know where you've applied to. Don't put it on the screen. But A lot of them are trying to figure out what the course structure is. They're still finishing off. Some people are finishing diplomas or degrees, and they have to figure out how to finalise that without final year shows and assessments and dissertations and tutors, and it's all very difficult. So if you haven't heard back, it might not be a negative thing. Just be aware that the industry is in kind of a strange state at the moment of being a little bit in a hiatus. So just know that things are not running as they would normally be, but just to highlight that. But Cathy or Scarlett, any thoughts on this?
The main thing that I would say, and this is again from my own experience and what I believe in, but I was someone that auditioned for every single drama school under the sun. My poor mum and dad, because they paid for my audition fees. But I was like, I need to go everywhere. And I obviously had my heart set on certain drama schools that I did get rejected from. And so I ended up going to the drama school that I felt was then right and, was what worked for us financially. And over that first year, I always felt, I'll re-audition next year, and I'll get to the school that I want to be, because if I get in there, then that will lead to this path. And I did re-audition and I got rejected. And I stayed at my drama school for 3 years. And I fully believe if you put in the hard work and you want to get to where you want to be, you will always end up on the path that you want to. I have grafted, I have done everything, I've hustled possibly to get indoors, to get jobs, and I feel like I'm on the path that I always wanted to be. So that would be my advice is trust your journey, because I fully believe if you work hard, your drama school won't determine where you're going to be. You're the one who determines where you want to be in life. So that would be my advice. And I would say, if you're really struggling with rejection, the best thing to do is always pick up the phone and chat to a professional who can help guide you through that. I went to a therapist when I was struggling a lot with rejection, and it really helped me. But that would be my advice on the right path type thing. You will always end up where you want to be.
That's so true. You'll end up where you're meant to be at the end, but getting there can feel very tough sometimes. Yeah, great advice. Thank you. I'm just going to pop this comment up from Brendan, who says he suffered with cyclothymia. I don't know if I've said that right. I hope so. For years in silence, I wrote a blog post a few years back, and the feedback was so positive. I wanted to say how vital it is to talk. And I think that's the exact message that you guys have with Industry Minds, is taking away the stigma, opening the conversation and talking. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'd love to read the blog as well. Feel free to
email it over.
Absolutely. It's so important. To have open conversations and break the silence, break the stigma. Talking will always result in something good. Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off there, Cathy.
No, I mean, obviously, as I said before, having struggled with mental health at several points throughout probably the last 10, 11 years, that talking has been the thing that's helped. I did want to bring it up. We did a podcast in, I think it was the end of series 1, with the gorgeous Layla Zaidi, and she spoke about, she was in my year at PPA and at Arts Ed, and she spoke about how she'd gone to counselling, and at that point, which was kind of just after we'd started the podcast, which is a little bit ironic considering we started it, I was really struggling. And after hearing her speak, I called my mum, and my mum's a GP, and I called her and I was like, right, I'm really struggling. What should I do? And she said, right, I'm going to find you some counsellors in the area, and we're going to get that sorted. And so it's thanks to someone else talking to us and being open to us, considering we were the ones who had the platform to be open, that I was then able to go and get help. So yeah, I mean, to everyone who's been open on our platform and been open to us and sent us emails and sent us DMs and stuff, like, we're just so happy that you feel that you're able to talk. And thank you.
Brilliant. Anna says, hi everyone, any tips on how non-actors industry people can help actors with their mental health, on how to support them through the different struggles of their career? So yeah, go on. No, go on, Cathy.
I was just going to say it's very tricky because and I think a lot of people find this with their families as well. If their families aren't involved in the arts, that they don't quite understand like the day-to-day of everything that goes on. And sometimes there can be quite a lot of that. Sometimes you can maybe get rejected like three times in a week for something, and that's a lot to take. I think the way that has just speaking from a personal point of view, my family usually just asks me how I'm getting on with it. I mean, they just offer an ear. I think they don't try and give advice as such. They just say, can I listen? Like you can rant at me for 5 minutes if you want to. And if they are really struggling, then obviously be like, maybe there's some mental health support that you can get. But I think the main thing is to not try to not try to, I don't really know if I'm speaking properly here, to just listen to how they're feeling, and not try to say you should do this or you should do that. That's just from me. What do you think, Scarlett? I'm sorry if I didn't articulate that very well.
That makes complete sense. I mean, speaking personally, my dad doesn't really understand things. You know, he'll text me when, say, my friend gets a really big job and say, why can't you be in something like that? And it's like, it's not how it works.
Have you thought about being on the telly? That's what they say.
I have actually, yeah.
Never thought of that. Thanks.
But obviously he's very supportive. But I think it's just, you know, exactly that, listening. And, you know, you can always take it that step further. There's amazing seminars. There's amazing, like I say, the course that I was on this morning, you can always book up to something like that if you want to, you know, help in a more, I don't know what the word is, a more practical way. Is that the right word?
Yeah. Just from like an informed,
a
more informed about it.
Informed way. You can certainly you know, reach out to us or to the likes of Applause for Thought, who have amazing kind of avenues that you can go on to help people, absolutely. But I think just listening and understanding and signposting them to whatever relevant help that they meet that they may need. Sorry, that took a while to get out.
At the end as well, guys, we'll just highlight how to get in touch with Industry Minds and what you guys are offering at the moment. So we'll just highlight that at the end of the Q&A. Sam comments and says, Industry Minds has been a huge contributor to my own journey with mental health. It was the first thing I always downloaded in port when I was on a recent cruise contract. Perfect. He says, thank you, and big smiley face. So that's
thank you so much, Sam.
Me and Cathy were chatting about this the other day, and I think because we're so in it, and you know, behind the scenes we're always trying to do more, that we rarely stop. And obviously we read everything, but we rarely stop and kind of realize what Industry Minds is. So it always makes me really overwhelmed and listening and reading people's comments. So thank you so much for sharing. It means a lot.
And I think from a sorry, Rosie. I think just from another point of view, like when me and Scarlett started it, and obviously still now, like we're just two like young creators in the industry, and it really is like very, very humbling to know that the conversation's been opened and reached further than we could have expected it to reach, and it's really, really lovely to hear that it's helped people.
Miko says, Juan, anyway, hi. How do you both deal with imposter syndrome? Interesting, good question.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I deal with this, you know, on a regular basis. What I found helpful is I always write things down, and what are facts and what I'm kind of, you know, dealing with in my head, and that really helps me focus on what is true and what is false. And you know, I've been to a therapist as well, and that certainly helped me as well. But certainly recently, whilst I deal with that, as I say, on a regular basis, I always write it down so that I can see clearly that this is a bad thought and this is the thought that represents me and represents what I'm feeling, if that makes any sense. I don't know what you think, Cathy.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I dealt with in counselling. I think a lot of creatives deal with it, whatever kind of part of their career they're in. I find it when I think the thing that for me was to just bring it back to like your truth. Like when I was I remember doing a Scarlett was filming, and I went to Equity in Bristol to do a talk with them. And I was sitting there and I was like, why am I here? Why does anyone want to hear my voice when there's all these people here? And then I thought, no, there's a reason why they asked Industry Minds to be on it. You're speaking as the person you are who set up Industry Minds from your experiences. You're not speaking as a mental health professional. You're giving your opinion based on what you've been through. And that is valid. And it doesn't matter that you've not been a mental health professional for 25 years and you're speaking at a mental health thing, because mental health is something that we all go through. And so everyone's opinion is valid on it. So that is kind of how I dealt with it. But I remember having a big thing with my counsellor about it the week before, because I was like, oh, I've got to go and talk and they're not going to want to listen to me and everyone's going to walk out. And they didn't, and it was fine. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I can relate it to me personally. Yeah.
I think everyone deals with imposter syndrome at some point, somewhere in their careers. We chatted with Arlene Phillips the other day, who's one of our patrons, and we just were chatting about, how to keep on top of our, mental health during this time. And she was talking generally about the industry, and she said, that, there are times when she's questioned everything and her own work, and, and she's got a CV longer than, longer than my arm. And I think everybody goes through moments of exactly like Cathy says, like, oh, why have they called me? Why am I getting involved in this? And then you have to step back and say, that's not for me to question. Actually, if I've been asked to do this, or they've given me this part, or they brought me in as a creative, or I've been asked to speak on this, it's because you have something to contribute. So you kind of have to take yourself out of it and put yourself to one side and just focus on what you're doing, I think. But that's everyone. That's everyone across people starting things like Industry Minds. That's directors, choreographers, actors. Everyone struggles with that at some point. So you're absolutely not alone.
Absolutely.
Anna says, Anna again. Oh no, I've done that one. Great. Kelly says, thank you so much for this. I love what you do. So pleased to finally know it's out there. She says, what's the best way to deal with anxiety?
I think anxiety, mental health is a very, very personal thing. And so I don't want to say what the best way is to deal with it. I think if you're having something like an anxiety attack, breathing is the most important thing. Writing things down, getting mental health support if you feel that it's something that you need, and finding those things that calm you down, and knowing that you don't have to. I think one thing for anxiety for me is like going 100 miles an hour. My brain more goes 100 miles an hour than me. I was in bed the other night and I suddenly remembered that I hadn't sent an email that I need to send. And so I literally woke myself up, went to my phone, sent myself a reminder to send the email the next day, and then went back to bed. And that's not a great thing to do. So I think ways that I personally deal with it are giving myself time, giving myself a structure, making sure that I'm not being too hard on myself, but also checking in and getting help when I need it. That's just me personally.
Yeah. I think for me personally, dance and exercise and yoga, it will always put my anxiety at bay without a doubt. Like Cathy says, it's different for everyone. Meditation as well. I know that you've got Still Point Space coming on here to do some meditation. Meditation does wonders for anxiety, again, for me personally. But those, I hope some of those might help. Maybe some exercise, yoga, meditation. They're great for keeping it at bay.
I think it can be very hard in that moment when you're actually dealing with anxiety to kind of step back and be objective about it. So I think everyone has to find their own ways of dealing with it, as you say, in that moment. But overall, I think those of us who do struggle with anxiety, and I definitely do, and this kind of lockdown and uncertainty, I think, can definitely trigger people into feeling definitely quite more anxious, maybe even than usual, is to, exactly as you say, find ways, for me certainly, of doing regular exercise and keeping routines and just keeping the mind focused and, you know, away from things that I know trigger my anxiety.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, as you say, it's different for everyone, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I think our first session with Mary is next Monday on the 8th, and I think she's starting with anxiety around the coronavirus situation. So that's going to be a webinar. I don't know yet whether she'll take questions on that, but she's going to speak at length, I think, about ways on which to combat that. And, you know, just I think the general message is you're not alone. I think everyone is struggling in some way with this, whether it's impacting your life, as I said before, to a point where you're struggling to get through the day, or whether it's kind of periodic. But I think everyone is in the same boat. And it's something we've said a lot as casting directors, particularly to new grads, which brings me on to the next part, is that, you know, the whole industry stopped. It doesn't matter who you are in the industry, choreographer, director, producer. I mean, the stress on producers at the moment, keeping theatres dark, and the costs, and you know, obviously no one's earning any money from live entertainment at the moment, so that's a huge stress as well. But everyone is in the same boat, and it's going to come back. We just have to wait and know that everything's on pause. So, you know, whether you're an established actor or a new grad, it's not that everything else is happening without you. It's literally that everyone is on pause waiting for it to come back. And I know a lot of new grads are incredibly anxious about not being able to come out into the industry, which kind of leads me smoothly, look at that, onto your new project. So tell us about the grad support scheme that you guys have just launched. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so you're for me to go, Scarlett. So so this was something that Scarlett came to me with. Scarlett has the most incredible ideas, and she said that we need to be doing more to support grads. We couldn't imagine having our final year showcase cancelled, in some cases 2 or 3 days before the actual showcase was supposed to happen. It's this big culmination of everything that you've done, and we wanted to be able to provide some opportunity. And so we've connected with a lot. I haven't actually counted it up. I think it's about 16 mentors, possibly more, to run sessions, which range from open sessions, Q&A, slightly smaller ones that are more tailored, and then a few one-on-one sessions. And we asked graduates to get in touch should they need it, and we had a lot of people get in touch before the stage article, a few more after that, and then over the last week we've had a flurry of new grads get in touch after we announced who was part of it, and it's been really, really great to get everyone's emails and just know that we can provide some opportunity for them to meet with people, and that they might not necessarily have met with, and to ask questions in a really unpressured environment. It's not like you're going into an audition straight away. You can ask those questions that you might not have got a chance to ask. Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
I'll provide, you know, mental health and wellbeing support as well. So it's kind of industry support and mental health and wellbeing going side by side. And I think,
can you just put that down a little bit for us, Scarlett? So if someone hasn't heard of the scheme at all, can you talk about it in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, so if you're a recent graduate and you feel like you would like some mental health, wellbeing and industry support, you can contact us, and we've got a program filled with casting directors, producers, choreographers, movement directors. Why are you laughing?
Where one of Pearson Casting are involved.
I thought I said something wrong, because I always use the word choreographer wrong, and I was like, oh no, I've said it wrong.
No, I'm sorry to be off-putting. I was trying to be cute.
We've got counsellors involved. We've got everyone basically that you could possibly think of have offered their time and to just support the graduates. And it's like Cathy says, it's something that, you know, it's on your own time, and we've got a whole schedule. If you're not free, there's no pressure to come to it. There'll be more, and it's just to basically just give graduates a helping hand throughout this difficult time. You know, when I first graduated, this would be the time that I would be out, you know, wanting to meet people and, you know, going to master classes and stuff like that. So obviously there's huge financial hardships just now, so it just creates a free way to still offer that, and a safe space if you are struggling, and we can help you as much as possible with absolutely whatever you need, and we hope that it will continue for as long as it needs to, and we're having a very open dialogue with all the graduates and catering to what they need. Yeah, so I hope I explained it well. Did that make sense?
Yeah, really
It
good.
made more sense to me.
Perfect sense. There are lots of amazing people involved. So where can new grads go now to find information about this?
They can email us, and we'll give you the email after.
Yes.
That helps.
When this gets uploaded, we'll pop it underneath the description so people can contact you. Great. So they can email you.
Or they can visit our social media as well. It's all over there. But yeah, email us directly. We'll hook you up. We'll get you sorted. The program's up and running kind of every day. We've got loads of workshops and seminars and stuff running. So yeah, no time like the present if you feel like that's something you want to do.
It's an amazing program, and thank you so much, guys, for putting it together. It's really extraordinary, and everyone who's a new grad who's feeling insecure or having doubts about themselves or the industry should definitely sign up and get involved. This is an interesting one. Olivia Graham has a question. She says, hello, Scarlett and Cathy. Is there anything you would like to see become mandatory in the rehearsal room or industry with regards to mental health and well-being?
Ooh. That's an interesting question. I think each, obviously, financially, what's the word? If there's the finances there, which I think there should be, I think that there should be. I think people should be mental health first aid trained who are leading rooms. So like that kind of company managers, definitely, and maybe stage managers and stuff who are with the cast every day, so that they're able to spot the signs of people who are maybe struggling and don't want to speak up. Obviously, there's a lot of theatres that do now provide on-site counsellors, and I think that's really important. There's a lot of workplaces that aren't theatrical provide that, and I think that it's something that we really need to work towards. To have those resources there, and for it not to be a thing to have to ask for it, to just be like, right, I'm going to the counsellor today. So I think in terms of like people in the rehearsal room, I think definitely the mental health first aid training is vitally important for those who are leading and have a responsibility to look after a company. And it also goes for creatives as well, because I think people forget to look after the creatives. So having a few people who have that knowledge base is really important, so that everyone's informed and everyone can spot the signs and is able to signpost people to the help that they need. Yeah,
absolutely. I think in terms of a rehearsal room as well, just creating that safe space is so important. And yeah, like Cathy says, in a dream world, I would love every single theatre to have an on-site counsellor and everyone be mental health first aid trained. And I fully believe that one day we will be, because we'll all make it happen. But yeah, I think even if it's just, some posters around a rehearsal room, or, a theatre or a drama school or whatever you are, and to make that safe, and, with numbers that you can call if you are struggling with mental health. I think, certainly for me, when I was training, that would have been great, just to see something that said, this is where you can go if you're struggling, which I believe people are doing anyway. But I haven't been in a rehearsal room for a while, so I'm not sure.
No one's been in a rehearsal room for a few weeks. Just to jump on the back of this as well, I think we're all responsible in some ways for the mental health improvements that we can bring about in the industry. As casting directors, we work incredibly hard to try and make sure we do yes, no. Occasionally someone slips through the pile, but on the whole, we try and let people know either way, whether they have got a recall or have got the job. Certainly, definitely at finals, every single person we feel like should be told whether or not they've got the job. I think as well, there's kind of a responsibility on all our shoulders to communicate well and communicate professionally through the industry. And I think, as much as James and I always work as hard as we can to promote the well-being and mental health of all the performers, the creatives, I think sometimes get forgotten as well, and that they might be dealing with their own issues, and sometimes we're all responsible for not looking after each other enough. So I think some of that can always start at home, in the way that we communicate with people. Your agent often gets, not yours, but one's agent often gets forgotten in this process, and the pressure on them. They don't earn any money till you work, for example, and if you kind of drop out of a lot of auditions and create bad relationships with production casts and things like that, that can be sort of producing the casting team. And that can be very difficult. So I think all of us have a responsibility just to look after each other more just through the industry. And that's, treating each other well, and, as I say, communicating well, and just taking that extra 10 minutes to really, look after each other. And I think that hasn't always been the case, but I think people like you are really creating a great awareness of, there are mental health issues out there, and we need to be talking about them and respecting them. So great job. That was a really good question, Olivia. Willow says, hello everyone, have you got any tips on how to not change a perfectionist attitude? I always find that learning new choreography songs causes me anxiety because of the desire to be perfect. Cathy?
Yeah, I think a lot of performers struggle with that, but I think that the thing is that there is no what is perfect. What is the perfect way to sing a song? What is the perfect way to do a dance? What's the perfect way to read a scene? And ways that I've tried to get over that kind of thing myself, which I definitely found, especially with my singing, was again to bring it back to me and to what I could offer. And if you're talking about being perfect, more think of it like try and be the best version of you that you can be. But I don't think that, in my mind, perfect doesn't exist, because everyone brings something completely different, and everyone has a different opinion on what something is. So someone might think something's 100% perfect, another person might go, no, I think that person's 100% perfect. So yeah, and also I think your individual, what you bring to it individually is so exciting and might be completely different from what someone else can bring to it. But you might see someone and be like, they're perfect, but please try not to let that affect you and your mental health and how you're working as an artist, because it's so important that you bring what you bring to it and know that that is 100% good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that I struggle with a lot. So I'm probably useless in answering it, but Cathy's kind of said it. I'm still really, really working on trusting myself and trusting who I am and exactly that and what I bring to it. And I'm definitely better. I'm definitely better than what I was. I'll still listen to something and go, oh, it's not perfect. Why don't I sound like this person or this person, and compare myself? But like I say, I went to therapy and I got the help that I needed to make sure that I could, start that onwards journey. And yeah, exactly that. Perfect does not exist. It does not exist. And we're all individual and we're all brilliant, and that should be celebrated. So yeah. And
also, we want authenticity, exactly as you just said. Like, we want you to be you. You don't know what someone else is looking for or listening for, and be kind to yourself. That's really a big message, I think, through this lockdown process, is to be kind, be gentle on yourself. This is not a holiday where you have to be achieving everything. And I think that's something I'd love you guys to talk about a little bit more, is I think there's a lot of pressure from some people kind of saying, oh, this is your opportunity to learn to paint and write a novel and speak 7 languages. And I think for some people, I remember in the first few weeks just getting out of bed and brushing my hair and not just eating like Wotsits was a massive achievement. And it's only because I've been able to get involved in other things like Q&As and podcasts and now the CCI that I feel that I have a purpose. And I think it's very difficult if you don't feel that you have some kind of direction. So what are your guys' thoughts on what to achieve during this time? Cathy, what's your message for people?
Just do the best that you can do for you on any given day. I have had days where I've literally sat in front of Netflix for the entire day, and that's completely fine. I've also had days where I've sent 200 emails, and that is, I mean, maybe exaggerating a bit, but that is totally fine. And I think that if you want to write a novel, and if this time for you has given you the impetus to get that project done that you've really wanted to do, then that's great. But I just think that do the best that you can do on any day. No one's expecting you to come out of this with being able to speak another language or something, or have learned the entire catalogue of Sondheim. It's just ridiculous. This is something that has never happened to any of us before, and touch wood will never happen to any of us again. And we are all dealing with it individually. And just like kind of the last thing with perfect, there's no perfect. There's also no right or wrong in how to deal with this. So how you're dealing with it is fine, and know that no one expects anything of you, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I came off my own social media for a little bit, just because it was at the time when everyone was doing the online fitness classes, and I just, like you said, getting up and walking to the shop and brushing my teeth, that was my achievement for the day, and it really was. And I'm still waving in and out of it. And I think it's, if we leave lockdown and we haven't written our novel and we don't have a six-pack, that is fine. Like, it is fine.
I definitely don't have a six-pack, just so you all know. The novel we'll see, but the six-pack definitely.
Yeah, exactly what Cathy says. There's no right and wrong, and you have to use this time to do what's best for you, and listen to yourself. Your mental health is the most important thing. We're all dealing with a really scary world right now, and you have to think what's best for you, and if taking a day to yourself and eating those crisps is what you want to do, which I do, every week, and every Tuesday I will get a Domino's pizza and I'll eat it all to myself. I feel great, and that is what I need. And that's okay. And yeah, just listening to yourself. I think, all this pressure, I don't know where the pressure is coming from, but I feel it. But I think, I'm now ignoring that pressure and focusing on what I need. And I'm in a much better place for that. And like I say, I will come out of lockdown with 6 more rolls on my tummy, and I will be.
It's funny that you mentioned social media. It's something that James and I talk about a lot, and especially when James goes into colleges, his big thing is stay off social media for your mental health, because, it's been proven that trying to get the likes and reactions and comments and things, I can't remember what the statistic is, but there's a certain period of time where if you haven't had a like on a post, you're likely to take it down and then feel incredibly negative or down. Yeah, they've done all kinds of research on the this actual chemical responses in the brain, the dopamine from getting the likes and posts, and you check back every few minutes, and then if you don't get a like or a response or comments, whatever, the negative mental health impact on that is huge. And it's difficult for us as casting directors, because now we're doing these industry surgeries where people can write to us and we give feedback on CVs and show reels, and we did a social media one, and it mostly came out of seeing a lot of negative, it sounds too strong, but kind of mixed messaging social media from people, especially on Twitter, engaging in kind of negative conversations or having negative comments that they'd written about productions that they were involved with, or MDs or things like that. And we were kind of saying, look, we'll have a little rummage through and see what we can find. And I found YouTube videos that people uploaded back in 2006 when they were 14 of them singing. I'm like, take that down. That's not you now. That's not representative of you. And then it kind of has grown into this place of kind of saying, well, look, you're on social media all the time. You have 2,000 followers on Instagram. Why not use this time because you're writing, asking for feedback on your industry tools, to put a 30-second monologue out there, or to do, get out in the garden, we say, like, do boomerangs of double pirouettes and put your content out there. But at the same time, I say to people, but make sure that you're someone who's already comfortable doing it, that doing that isn't going to create the anxiety of, oh my gosh, now I must check my phone every 5 minutes. Did someone like it? Did someone write something negative? And so I think that's a really, really difficult balance to draw in, I think, at any time, but especially now when we really only have online or TV, and for some people they don't even have someone else to live with, to talk to about it. So what are your thoughts generally about social media, and then linking that into current, during this crisis? How do you both use and cope with the pressures of social media?
Yeah. I mean, I struggled with social media really, really badly. Like I was one of those people that was, editing everything to an inch of its life, and, was so focused on the following and the likes. And, even although I'm over that now, even when I go on social media now, I can feel my breath like get sharper. It's like I feel it deep, like literally deep within my tummy, and every time I go on social media, and I think that feeds my anxiety as well. And
when you post from Industry Minds as well, does it have the same response? Like if you put a tweet out, do you kind of get that sense of about it?
It's on everything. And I've worked as a social media manager before for a show, and even that, I don't know what it is. I've got some books that I need to set the time and read, because I'm sure it will make me understand more. But I think because I had such I got lost in social media, completely lost, and it can become your life. And you can, the very first podcast that we done, the title of it was Paint the Sky Bluer Than It Actually Is, and how you can just, paint your best life and showcase everything as how you want it to be, and not be honest with yourself. And that was very much my experience with it. And so, I've completely changed the way that I run my social media. And I'll only I will use it as a connecting tool, because I think it's great, and we wouldn't get half the guests that we have on the podcast without social media. It's a great tool to connect, but I think if you use it safely and you use it responsibly, I sound like a teacher, but it's true. If you use it safely and responsibly, it's a great tool. But I think when you spend too much time scrolling, I've got a kind of cap on my phone that tells me when I've went over a certain amount of time on social media, and then it will lock all my apps. And that's been a really great thing for me to realize how much time I'm spending on social media, how much time am I scrolling through, the Kardashians, and wishing that I had that life. And you can get into, which was what I was doing, and I was getting in such a dangerous cycle of, this person's got that and they're really happy, so I don't have that, so I need to get that, or I need to go and buy that really expensive coffee that I'm not going to drink, so I can take a photo of it on social media and get lots of likes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been a long process, and I'm always happy to talk about it, because it can get really scary. And I think you just have to be open with yourself and know what's real life and know what is social media. And I think exactly what you said, just now it is hard, because for some people they only have online. But I think, again, it's just using it responsibly. And I think I would always say, if you want to chat to people, don't do it online. Just text them and be like, do you want a call, or do you want a Zoom call? Because that will always be better than going on social media. And I think it's okay if you want to take the time away from social media as well. So I've really spoke there. Cathy, take it away.
No.
For too long.
No, it's great. Scarlett runs the socials for Industry Minds, and she's fantastic at it. I personally have always struggled with it's the whole kind of imposter syndrome thing, and just not kind of like feeling a bit inadequate when it comes to social media. And so I don't post very often on any of my channels. On Instagram, I can sometimes go like, it might not seem like that long, but I sometimes go like 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks without posting a post. And I'm like, oh, I haven't posted anything. I'm like, oh, maybe I should post something so that like people know I'm okay or something. what I have done personally is I've switched off all notifications from social media. So if I do post something on Instagram, I post it and then I go away. And most of the time, I'm not going to lie, I forget that I've posted it. And especially if I do it just before I'm about to have tea or something. And the next time I go on, I go, oh, I posted something. And the whole, I know what you mean about the whole like likes thing and the whole validation thing. And I think that in that social media age, that is how people perceive their worth, which is just so not right, because like your worth is not someone double tapping on your photo. And that's definitely something that I've worked on. But I think for me personally, it's something that I've been able to get through. And I'm not really that bothered about it anymore. And I think that switching off those notifications and making, like, I'd much rather text people and call people, just as Scarlett said. That's
like 90s again, texting and calling.
I love it.
Period. I think kind of jumping on. Sorry, Scarlett. I was just saying. I think people have got better in the last few months about kind of jumping on a Zoom call or texting or calling. Like I've never text or WhatsApp people so much. And I think weirdly we are coming off social media, certainly my friends, for communication. Whereas before it's been like, oh, I'll just Facebook message you or I'll Insta DM you, whatever. And I think I've been on more calls, more Zooms. And I think hopefully that's a positive thing that will stay. So we're not always going into these platforms where we then kind of get sucked into, it's kind of a twofold thing, isn't it? It's on one side, it's just getting sucked down the rabbit hole of like, what's that video, like just Britney trying on different clothes in her house, like just going, oh my God, I've just done this for 2 hours. And then there's the other side of it, which is the posting engagement that you do yourself and the anxiety that maybe comes with comparing yourself to other people in some way, even subconsciously, or kind of waiting for that validation. It's really hard. Actually, Miko's just said, do you have any tips on how not to rely on your phone as a crutch? It's very hard not to check my phone every waking moment, which is exactly what you just said. So I think you guys have just said about putting notifications on of the length of time you've been on there to kind of, tell you.
I don't know how to do it on an Android, but I know how to do it on an iPhone. If you go to your settings, what's it under? Let me check. Can't remember.
Screen time.
Yeah, screen timing, and you can put that, so it will lock you out after a certain amount of time. But I'd say the best thing is just turn your phone off.
Yeah.
Turn your phone off. The best thing that ever happened to me, my phone broke and I had to go like 4 days without a phone. And it was brilliant because it rechanneled like all my energy into the present world and not constantly being on the phone. I know right now it's really difficult because we need our phones to connect. But I think just, if you're going out for a walk, for example, or you're going out for some exercise, just leave your phone at home and, take in your surroundings and look at the trees and look at the trees. Do you know what I mean? Like, get at one with nature. It's nice.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely I put my phone on do not disturb sometimes. So I've got it so that my favorites, which is basically like Scarlett, my boyfriend, and my family, can call me if there's an emergency. So if they call me twice, it'll come through. But other than that, I don't think there's anything that can't wait a couple of hours. So I put my phone on flight mode, or I put it on do not disturb. And just like Scarlett said, when I walk out, pretty much every walk I've been on since we've been on lockdown, I've just left my phone at home and just gone out, because it's only going to be an hour and a half. And yeah, I think that the longer you are without it, the easier it gets. I was on holiday just before lockdown started, and I remember texting Scarlett as I was going in, and I was being like, I don't think I'm going to have any reception here, just to let you know. And then I got there, I had no reception, the Wi-Fi didn't work. And so I think I texted her when we'd gone to like a
or something.
We'd gone somewhere and I just got a little bit of reception. I was like, oh, my phone works, I'm fine, I'm alive. And then like that was it. But it does get easier the longer that you so I'd say stick at it if you want to use your phone less, because it gets easier the less you use it.
I think maybe ask yourself what is it I'm using it for? Is it because we're keeping in touch with news and emails, and James, if he finds himself kind of going down that, oh my gosh, I'm sitting for an hour and a half suddenly and I've gone down the rabbit hole. He's like, he just takes those apps off his phone. He's like, I just take Facebook off and then I can only access on a desktop, or if I'm working, you know, through the day, I make sure that I don't have, it's difficult because I kind of do work in the social media platforms, but just not, if they're not accessible on your phone, it's like not having junk food in the house. If you don't have it in, you won't eat it. So if you take the apps off, for example, if you social media is what's kind of drawing you in and kind of you're relying on a lot, then actually you'll start using your phone more as a phone. And, you know, if they're not on there, you won't use them potentially. I haven't done it. I'm, you know, practice, say as I say, not as I do. I just want to spend the last kind of 15 minutes talking really explicitly about how people can get support from you guys, how the structure and the platform of Industry Minds, just again, in case people aren't aware. I've got a question here. I've got some follow-up from people. Kelly said earlier she was asking about anxiety and we were talking about exercise. And she said, yes, exactly. I do that too. Thank you. Great ideas. Willow says, thank you for, sorry for the terrible grammar. She was asking about being perfectionist. Thank you to all. Appreciate to have facilities available like this. It's wonderful. Kelly has asked, thank you for your wonderful advice. I've started a blog about starting a career in our industry and want to help back. Do you ladies collaborate with other actors wanting to help via free workshops, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. Email us. Absolutely. We're obviously up to our kind of shoulders with work for the grad program just now. We might be a bit delayed getting back to you with any kind of collaborations, but we're absolutely always up for anything. So yeah, drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
She's just followed up by saying this would specifically be about mental health, i.e. the power of saying no and how that makes your yes more trustworthy and how to deal with the last minuteness of our industry. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Email us. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So Industry Minds, tell us the website.
It's just www.industryminds.co.uk.
And on there, we've got information about the podcast. So tell us a little bit about the podcast and what you've been doing, something slightly different during the lockdown, haven't you?
Yeah, so we've released, we came to the end of our final series and then we decided to release a COVID-19 kind of bonus series with loads of advice that you were part of. So you can go and check that out. All of our episodes and series and all of our bonus episodes are all on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, or wherever else that you stream your podcasts. So you can listen, obviously it's free, you can listen for free. And we've got series 5 coming out in July. So that'll be out as well, but there's loads of episodes that you can go and listen to and enjoy, and all of the info is on our website as well. But if you literally just search for Industry Minds on any kind of streaming platform, it should come up.
So previously you've done kind of actors and then you've done creative. So is there a theme running through season 5, or have you started filming them now? Recording them?
Yeah. So we're doing them over Zoom, which has been really nice actually, because there's some amazing creatives that we've been wanting to chat to for a while, but they've just been so busy, and now they've kind of got a spare hour to give us during the day. So that's been amazing to chat to some really cool people. Series 5, so as we said, the first series was kind of people that we knew of, or people that got in touch. And then we kind of started doing kind of more structures. So we had a creative series to bring mental health awareness to all of our creatives in the industry. This next series is just a big mashup of everyone. Obviously, a lot of the topics are discussing, what's currently going on in the world. So there's that's obviously clear.
Yes. Sorry.
So obviously that's what we're discussing mostly, and just what the industry might look like after, how we can continue to better the industry, the world, our mental health, what still needs to change. We're still having incredible conversations, but yeah, we've got some amazing people lined up.
Can you tell us any of them? Is it all top secret? Are they locked down?
There's two. There's two that we already put out on social media.
Yes.
Which is Stephen Meir and Nikolai Foster.
Amazing.
That was lovely.
They're out already to listen to.
Not yet. They'll be out in July when Series 5 starts.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so exciting. Well done, guys. And then so tell us what else people can access on the website. So you've obviously got the counselling sessions. So how does that work with Mary? Because some are, they're obviously not expensive sessions, but you also have you can make exceptions potentially for people who are really struggling to find funds for support at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone is experiencing financial hardship, we will cover the cost of the session, and it's free. All sessions are 55 minutes to an hour, that runs on your schedule. So you can email Mary directly, or you can email me, scarlett@industryminds.co.uk, or email mary@industryminds.co.uk. And you can, from there, you can book in your session. You know, if you're new, you can have an initial call with her to make sure that she might be the right fit for you, because not every counsellor works for everyone. And we've got a couple of other counsellors who are working with us just now, and so we can refer you on to someone that will work better if Mary doesn't. I mean, she is brilliant, so I hope she works for most people. If you're able to make a donation to the telephone or the Skype call, or however you want to do it, then that's welcome. Our sessions are normally £25, which, you know, is, I think it's the lowest cost in London. But if you're able to make any donation, what happens is that then goes back into the Industry Minds Fund and helps cover the cost of someone who really is experiencing financial hardship. We can't obviously do a lot of fundraisers and stuff just now. So when we run out of our kind of pot of money, we just rely on Mary's pure generosity in giving her time. But like we say, you know, if you are experiencing any financial hardship, please just let us know, and we'll, you know, you will still get your session. We're also running some seminars monthly, and we were kind of running them every single week. But we've reduced that now to monthly seminars of mental health chats. Currently, we'll be asking for a donation to donate to Black Lives Matter. And oh gosh, what was the other one? My brain, I've not had enough coffee.
Off the top of my head, sorry.
No
Let me
worries.
just double check.
We'll let Cathy look. We'll let her come. We'll come back to it. Yes.
For a donation to both of those charities. So whatever you can afford, and that money will go to them. And again, if you're experiencing financial hardship, then it will be free. So yeah, we'll get the other names. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's Black Lives Matter and Black Ticket Project.
Black Ticket Project, that's one, which is a UK-based charity. So yeah, and that's kind of what we're running just now. And you know, it's every single day. Mary works. She's brilliant. So we don't have waiting lists, and you don't have to wait long. The max you'll wait is probably a week. But if anyone is ever needing an urgent helping hand, Mary's usually very happy to drop things or refer you on to someone who, a helpline who can help you urgently as well. So, just reach out if we can help.
Really fantastic. Do you have one piece of advice? You can only give one to any performer in the industry right now. Cathy.
Stop trying to be like other people and be like yourself. Because I would have told that to myself when I first came out of drama school.
Do you think you still live? Do you live by that yourself? Do you think? Do you achieve that every day?
Much more so now than I did, but there's still room for improvement.
Scarlett?
Oh, I would say it's okay not to be okay. Get the help that you need. You're valid. And exactly what I said earlier, I think we're all worried. Sorry, this is more than one piece of advice. I think we're all worried. And I think just know that we're all in this together, and we will all end up on the paths that we want to, regardless. And just it's okay not to be okay, for sure.
Brilliant, really great advice. I've just got some lovely thank yous here. Kelly says thank you. She wanted to get in touch with you. So just for anyone who's coming at the end, if anyone wants to get in touch with Scarlett and Cathy, their email will be at the bottom of this link on the YouTube channel. So email them anytime. Anna says, thank you so much all. This has been so helpful and what you're doing is amazing. Kelly again, you girls are amazing. Thank you for helping to change our industry and move it forward for the better. I think she speaks for a lot of people here who have benefited or yet don't know they are going to, but are going to be benefiting from what you guys are offering. So thank you so much. Jennifer Trapp says thank you so much. And just before we start to wrap this up, I just want to talk about some really positive things. So tell us about any TV shows, films, or live theatre that you've been streaming that you absolutely recommend that people get on board with, like today. What should people be watching?
I'm obsessed with Money Heist. It is incredible. You must all watch it. I finished Ozark, so I would say watch Ozark first and then move on to Money Heist because it's brilliant and it's really exciting. And theatre things, and I've got a little account with digital theatre, so there's loads of great things on there that you can rent. And I've been loving the National Theatre's live streams too. A Streetcar was amazing. It was brilliant.
Amazing. And Cathy?
In terms of like Netflix, I watched Unorthodox quite a few weeks back, which is really, really interesting because a lot of it isn't in English, and you really have to like sit and watch it, and it's such an interesting story. And it's just really great to see other cultures on there. And one that I recommended to Scarlett last night, which is a bit fun. It covers some quite sad topics, but it is good fun. Is Never Have I Ever, and it's just like. It's just great fun. It's just about a 15-year-old in her school in an Indian family just going through what she's been going through after losing her dad, and loads of it's really funny and loads of it's really touching, and it's a nice watch. So yeah, I think I finished. I've got one more episode to go, I think, but yeah, that's really good.
It's hard when you get towards the end of something, you go, oh, I started watching Grey's Anatomy I'd watched kind of the first 4 or 5 seasons last year, and then, 10 years ago, and then I started again last February, and I'm now in season 15, knowing that it's gonna end, and then I think I can buy 16, but I'm not sure James will let me do that. I'm kind of like, you reach the end of something, you're like, oh, you get so attached, don't you?
Yeah. I have a really good podcast as well. It's not our podcast, but let me try and figure out what it was, because I listened to it. It's all about people expressing their failures. Oh, what was it called? Oh no, but it has like amazing people like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, all just chat about their failures, and it's brilliant. I listen to it on my night shifts. It's on my
brilliant.
I will find it.
If you don't find it before we sign off, then send it to me and I'll pop it on the link.
It's called How to Fail with Elizabeth Day.
Love that. How to Fail with Elizabeth Day. I have to listen to that.
Great.
And Bryony Duncan, lovely Bryony, says, I'm so thankful for Industry Minds. I love listening to your podcast, and this afternoon has been amazing. Thank you. I hope you guys have felt the love. Grey's Anatomy is fabulous. Today has been continuous learning. Thank you. So I hope you guys have felt the love this afternoon. It's been amazing to have you on this side and be able to kind of pick your brains and interview. And I know, Scarlett, you're working night shift, so thank you so much for giving up some of your afternoon to be with us. There are links below to websites and emails on how to contact the guys. We have the amazing Mary Birch next Monday. I had it in front of me. Yes, she's in at 5 p.m. for a mental health webinar, and I believe we're starting to talk about managing anxiety through the coronavirus crisis, and then we'll kind of move on into other areas of mental health from there. And meanwhile, as Scarlett and Cathy said, you can contact her through Industry Minds for one-to-one sessions as well. Guys, don't go anywhere. I'm just going to pop you back in the studio, but don't leave yet. I want to say goodbye. I'm just going to close this off. So thank you so much from everyone. At the minute we sign up, everyone will start writing thank you. So I'll say thank you from thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. I've been chatting with Cathy and Scarlett from Industry Minds. They're such inspirational people. Coming up next, I don't have the time in front of me. I should have done this before I signed on, but I didn't do it. I believe he's here at 4:30. I will check. It's Alan Richardson, and he is going to be doing Working the Male Falsetto. Alan has amazing experience working with Sasha Regan's productions, and also he was most recently Mary Sunshine in Chicago in the West End. So it's going to be a class not to miss if you'd like to work your male falsetto. Our thanks again to Cathy and Scarlett for joining us this afternoon. This is going to go out on our YouTube and will be available for a month to view. Thank you so much, everyone, for signing in, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.